If you are a B2B service-based business owner and you are looking to gain more clients, create more impact, and more revenue in your business, tune in to Amplify Your Marketing Message with Campbell Rapin. Every week, we're going to take you through how to build an audience of buyers, mastering your marketing message, and making offers that convert consistently. We'll see you all on the inside. Welcome back, everyone. There is a shocking statistic. 42% of businesses that disappear, close their doors, do so because of a lack of buyers, a lack of market who will invest in their programs and service offering. And it is the number one challenge for every business owner, whether you are just starting and looking for your first client, or whether you are already seeing momentum but wondering and doubting, where will the next client come from? And I want to bring in today's episode a real focus around how to identify a buyer, because there's a lot of conversation about followers, list building, and I will tell you that sometimes that is a false shiny object if they are not buyers. And so let's start with the first piece of the puzzle. A buyer has an intention to purchase assistance, guidance, or support to getting a specific result. And that's one of the first pieces that is so often overlooked, is what is their intention? One of the philosophies that I work with my clients around when I'm coaching them and mentoring and guiding them to create a client growth engine comes down to the fact that there are 3 lanes of traffic in the general audience, and being able to identify where your potential person is at in a given moment will help you know when to focus, how to connect and engage, and how to pace the leading of the conversation. So let me take you through that, because it can be a great orientation to this. So often we talk about getting caught in the slow lane. A slow lane is someone who is in the realm of maybe what you do, but is on a long runway. And the problem you're trying to guide them to or solve isn't a today problem. It's a someday problem, which makes you a someday hire, not a must hire today. And getting caught here is the worst thing you can do, because you'll go broke emotionally, financially, and you are in convincing mode, and it's exhausting and not very effective, truthfully. So the slow lane is somebody who's saying, yeah, I know that that happens. I know my peers and people ahead of me in the business world or in my life and my habits encounter that. But someday I'll need you. Be careful getting caught in the slow lane, because what is missing in the slow lane is the intention to solve the problem and make it a priority today. And today, priority intention is what you're looking for as a business owner to get the yeses, to get client conversion happening in your business. The middle lane is somebody who is seeing a problem repeat. And that's key here. We're not going to invest if something is a once in a blue moon problem. If the problem is a repeating pattern that has significant and growing consequences, my priority level to solving it gets higher, and I start to have a recognition, a self-awareness that I can't maybe solve this myself because I'm not doing a very good job. My pattern, my history indicates that my success is actually just white knuckling through it till it goes away. And at some point, we draw the line in the sand. And often that line is drawn more than once. But that middle lane, in that moment of awareness, a recognition, and a possibility to an alternate, is where your bread and butter buyers are living. And I encourage my clients, and I work with them to build strategies on both marketing and sales to disrupt that pattern in a non-judgmental, open, hopeful, and building a strategy to help them see the other side and to see you as a must hire, as a guide to disrupt the pattern. And disrupt the pattern not once, but to create lifetime change. That has the most value to the person who's in the middle lane. And so that is where your bread and butter client is. Couple things that are important. I want to just recap them. They have to be a repeating pattern. They have to recognize that their own white knuckling isn't solving the problem, and they have to be open and prioritizing. It has to be a hot moment for them to say, yes, I'm open to looking at this because I am in my own way. You got to be able to recognize that, connect to that, and lead it in order to see client conversions in that moment. The fast lane is where clients are already highly in the moment of investing. They've already made the decision to invest. They've already budgeted for the investment. And they are right now saying, who's the right person to build me certainty that I can get the result I want? Note I said certainty. That's a really important distinction here in the fast lane. And why I call the fast lane often unicorn clients? They're clients that you may not have had a lot of one-to-one engagement with, but they've been watching, they've been learning, they've been studying, they've been listening, and they've been in your ecosystem at a distance. And likely you don't even know they've chosen you, but when they come into your ecosystem, they know about your programs, their services, and they're already saying, I'm looking at these two options because I want to get to this result. This is why I believe you can help me get there. Which decision should I go with? And they're asking you to lead them, to help them have certainty, and they're borrowing your confidence. You can get them there. But those three lanes are really important. I want you to be looking for, leaving this podcast episode with, are they looking with an intent to purchase? Because if not, they're not a buyer. And be careful getting caught in the lane. And as you are out talking to people, making quotes, be sure that you know and you've audited where are they in this journey. Focusing on the ones that are ready to make the decision will have the best, quickest returns for your time and energy. So I want you to first off see that. And I want you to rethink. Number two, I want you to rethink, what does it mean to say, what is a client avatar? Because I think sometimes we have gotten really caught in describing the avatar by the demographics. When people come to me, I said, who's your client? They're like, she's 35, she lives in Connecticut, she's got 2 cats, she's got a university degree, and you're giving me her census data. And I said, awesome. Would you recognize her? Is it actually who's bought from you? And where did this information come from? It doesn't actually help you identify the buyer because demographics isn't the key to buying intention. What is key on buying intention is the pivot points. The pivot points for that middle and fast lane of when am I done? When am I done my own BS? Recognizing my patterns are cyclical, I'm white knuckling it, I don't have the skills, capability, or commitment to change on my own. Because that truly is going to be far more important than a demographics. And so I work through in the Business Skill Accelerator with my clients, which is my flagship one-to-one mentorship program, a deep understanding of 3 very basic questions, but you have to go very far into the deep end to be able to, first off, identify, and then secondly, attract that buyer. The first is, why are you uniquely qualified to have a conversation with somebody in that pivot point? What do you understand about it? Not at the surface level, but at the deep end. What is the language, the pace, the consequences? You have to be successful in buying connection and getting conversion, have a really solid understanding of, I've been there. And I'm not going to judge you there. And I'm going to invite you to follow me from a safe distance for perhaps quite a while so that we can build trust with each other, so that we can build certainty that I can walk the talk in the deep fire with you, and that I am connecting with you at a human level. So you have to tell the stories you're not telling right now. And you have to know what makes you qualified to sit in the darkness. The second so what question that I ask my clients to really get clear on is, what is the consequences of this pivot point? If I don't solve this and I continue to white knuckle it, what does it cost me? Financially, emotionally, within relationships? Because I want you to get really clear and hear this really, really clearly. People do not pay for your knowledge. They do not pay for your time. They pay for a changed behavior and result. Why does that changed behavior and result matter to them? And here's the second most important part. Why now is it a priority? If it's not a priority right now, you are stuck in the slow lane. And trust me, they're not ready to buy yet. So don't rush them. Encourage them to have knowledge, resources, and other materials, but don't rush the offer. So you need to understand deeply what the consequences are, because building a connection around the consequences and a deep understanding of you having walked that makes you stand out as a guide to the person on the other side. And it elevates you to the top of a very short list when they're ready to get out their credit card. The third thing that's really important to know is that you have to be brave. You have to be brave and understand the result, and to create value around the result, and to know what makes you qualified, why you, and you have to have leadership here. And I think sometimes when we go back to that stat, 42% of businesses are failing because they can't find buyers, it's because you're playing too safe. You're not telling the stories you need to tell. You're not understanding the consequences. You're talking to the wrong people in the wrong rooms. And I said, a couple things are really important. You have to know what the priority is. You have to know what the consequences are. You have to know why you're uniquely qualified. And you have to get visible with this. There's no shortcut to this. And it isn't about numbers. It isn't about simply list building if they're not buyers. I want you to grow your business and have an engine. One conversation, one client is the goal line. If your messaging is spot on and you can identify these potential buyers and you know when to lead the conversation, this gets easier and it gets into a rhythm. And so the third element I want to talk to you about, identifying an audience of buyers, that is so, so important, is that you cannot sound like everybody else. So often we get lost in the sea of sameness. We are selling to our peer group with the same foundations, training, education, and background. And guess what? That's not where the buyer is. I want you to be shifting to think about, what is your client, the buyer, searching for? What words are they using? What result do they want? Why does that matter to them? And you need to recognize that buyers have the intention to purchase. So here's the really obvious thing, but maybe you haven't cottoned on to it yet. They have to have income to buy. And so many times when I see in the land of business, they're like, I want to sell something, I really want to help somebody, but if they are not motivated and don't have income to pay for your services, they're not buyers. And you do need to get into rooms and spaces where the priority is there, the income is there, and their motivation is within, because you need to stop convincing people. Convincing people is not cool. I just got to say that. It's not cool. And it is also highly ineffective. So I want to recap, because you need to be able to identify your buyer. And a buyer at its very heart is problem aware, is actively seeking solutions, is prepared to invest outside of themselves to getting an alternate outcome because their current pattern is repeating and not solving. And they are motivated. It's a priority to solve it. And to start with that as the foundation, you need to recognize when you're out meeting more people, and you know, you heard me say this before, your business will be built on strangers. You need to get visible in new audiences all the time. And as you are out meeting new people, you should always have your antenna up and be watching and categorizing, and even in a CRM or some basic spreadsheet, when you have that conversation, identify what lane are they in. Are they a buyer currently? Are they in the slow lane? Are they in the middle lane? Are they in the fast lane? And you need to have a really clear idea that you must lead what's possible. And you do it from a place of deep understanding of what they have already tried, why it hasn't worked, what you offer, what makes it so different. You have to own the value of what it is you're presenting, and you need to know this at the very heart. You are not the solution. You're the guide. And so for people to identify you as the must hire, they need to trust you. They need to have certainty that, one, you have been there, two, you know how to get the results, and here's the most important piece I think is often not on the table: what makes you qualified to guide me? Do you have the skill set to teach, guide, mentor, and lead? Because if you don't have them, somebody else will be their must hire. And it all comes down to connection at a human level. Because for you to connect to your buyer who's in the middle or fast lane, you need to go into the darkness. You need to get your water wings and go into the deep end. And you need to sit there in non-judgmental, hopeful, leaving footprints for people to follow. And depending on what it is that they are seeking, you need to leave footprints for them to follow. Stop rushing the offer. Trust the unicorn client will show up when they're ready. But it starts with you being able to know an avatar. Stop thinking it as the description of the demographics. Because I will tell you this about opportunity, and having helped more than 400 businesses create a ton of money, getting them clear on how to find a buyer. It is not about the demographics. Yes, there are similarities, but I will tell you this about opportunity. It never comes in the package you expect. It never comes with the bow wrapped around it, and it never comes in the moment you're expecting it. Your buyer has been hiding in the darkness. You need to go meet them there. You need to be visible as the light so that they can come and find you. And there are strategies that you can do to attract them. And we're going to tackle that on another episode. But it's most important, I want you to take away from today, to not be the statistic of 42%. You have to figure out who is your buyer. You have to recognize the characteristics. You have to get into spaces where they are. And you need to be able to categorize them, see them, identify, and get your own ownership of the value you bring. You have to do it your way. That is exactly what I take my clients through, and I do it through two different ways. One, I work with my clients one-to-one, but I also have a group program to help you do the heavy thinking of how to identify a buyer, what it is that you are going to do with that buyer. So if you're curious, I want to invite you to find me at ChristineCampbellRapin.com. You need some help? Look at the resources. Let's have a conversation. Let's figure out how to beat the statistics, because this is an engine driver. Without this, you do not have a business. You have a hobby. And I want you to have a business that supports the lifestyle you want. So go find those buyers, my friends. They're out there. They are searching. Let's help them search and find you. And then you help them to create the results they need. I am Christine Campbell Rapin. I am a business mentor and owner of Clear Acceleration. Can't wait to be in conversation with you. Be sure to subscribe to us in this podcast. Share this with a business peer, because this one, seriously, is a gold nugget. I'll see you all on our next episode. That's a wrap on another amazing episode of Amplify Your Marketing Message with me, your host, Christine Campbell Rapin. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss another great episode. And be sure to visit ChristineCampbellRapin.com/podcast to get a free resource on how to master your marketing message. We'll see you all on our next episode.